everybody. Thanks for turning up for such an early session. I'm here today to talk about fixing things and why that's a lot more interesting than it sounds. I invented 15 years ago a product called Sugru Mouldable glue. And it's designed for making fixing and making things easy and fun for anyone. Now, I'm not really here to talk about Sugru today, but I need to start with that because over the years, I've learned so much from the people who use it and the potential of fixing and why it could be really actually very exciting. Two things that I really have come to believe are really true is that fixing unlocks people's creativity in amazing ways. And two, fixing really does have a role to play in helping us to take better care of our planet. Sugru is all about proud fixing. So this isn't about fixing like when you were a kid and at school, you know, the kid with the glasses with tape, it's all taped up and they're really embarrassed that they've had to have their glasses fixed or their shoes fixed or whatever. This is all about choosing to fix and being proud of it. Look at these smiles. These are people who are celebrating their fixing and they're loud and proud about it. And it's about fixing all sorts of stuff, from toys to gadgets to kitchen appliances, all sorts of things. The awesome thing, I guess, about people being proud of fixing is that they often take pictures of it and they like to show off their fixes. So every picture that you see of a Sugru fix, this is just a screenshot from Google Images, you'll see that it's just a natural part of it that they want to share their fix stories and show them off. And it feels like every picture and every fix is like a little window into people's lives somehow. And there are people all over the world. And there's a lot of them. So they've fixed more than 15 million things now. And these are like 15 million things that haven't gone to landfill. But when you look at each individual one, they're like really small little personal victories, each one. This is a story from a fixer, a dad called Ankur that sent us this message that I really love. So he said, "This morning, my 9-year-old daughter, Nora, bashed her toe on the end of our bed. And in between tears and anger, she said, 'Daddy, why haven't you Sugru'd the bottom of your bed yet?'" And this made me laugh, but it's also, children in a way have a way of helping us to see the future. And to her, the bed being too hard was a problem to be solved. It was just obviously could be fixed. She sees the world in a way that is infinitely changeable and adaptable and improvable. And what if we could all see the world like that? That everything we encounter is just something to be made better, something to be solved. Okay, so let's talk about the problem. There's way too much waste in the world. I think we can all agree about that. And I guess we need to change the system, but we also need to change our behavior around it. Every year, we create 2 billion tons of waste. Most of it goes to landfill straight away. And now we're making more than 1 billion mobile phones, for example, and 300 million computers every year are put into production. Very quickly, they get out of date and they're trash, they go to landfill. And there's a scary number of them in the world. The e-waste is growing and growing, and it's leaving behind a toxic legacy that's polluting our water, polluting our air, and destroying ecosystems. So the solution is so multifaceted. You know, we've got to get new materials, we've got to get new ways of designing things, new ways of manufacturing things, new ways of recycling things. Repair is only ever going to be part of the solution. But today I want to share with you some of the more surprising ways that it could be part of that solution. So how did I get interested in repair? It's, you know, I'm pretty obsessed by it. I've dedicated my adult life to promoting it and enthusing about it, and it's a bit of an odd topic. It has to be said. I blame the fact that I grew up on a farm, because on a farm, when something breaks, you don't go to the shops to replace it and solve the problem. You have to get the welder out, and you know, you've got to use whatever is around you to solve the problem and improvise a solution. I went on to study art, and then I went to London to study product design. And I really thought, actually, you know, I was going to be so good at it. I really thought I was so excited about it. Until I realized that a few weeks in, I realized I just couldn't do it. There was just such a fundamental problem that people just don't need more stuff. You know, we had briefs to make chairs, we had briefs to make lighting, whatever it is. And I just found this just so pointless. You know, we don't need more stuff. We actually have enough. And it was a really hard time for me because I'd moved country, and you know, I'd put all my kind of eggs in this basket to go and study product design. And then anyway, I was playing with materials because sculpture was my background, and I came up with this experiment and this idea of something that could be really versatile. I imagined a sort of space-age rubber that could help people to see their world in an adaptable way and to take care of the stuff that they had and adapt it and be creative with it. It was just a kind of weird idea, and I basically filled up notebooks of all the things that people could do with it. But I really, really believed in the idea. And after my graduation, I hooked up with some scientists, and I dedicated several years to basically figuring out the chemistry, learning chemistry, and formulating the materials to make this product real. But the biggest challenge of all was to help to have other people believe in it before it existed. And I found it really hard to convince investors and business people about the potential of this product, because this is, imagine, 2004, 2005. It's pre-financial crash. People weren't really talking about the environment in the same way that they are today. And 2008 came, the financial crash came, and we basically had run out of funding. And it came to like whether the several years that I'd already spent developing this product would be totally wasted. Until a friend gave me this advice, and she said, Jane, I know you want this to be like a really big product, and I'd been thinking about retail, and I'd been thinking about where it could go and be a product just like duct tape that everybody has in their drawer. And she said, change your mind and think small. And I just flipped, and I just thought, yeah, you're right. To make this happen, let's think small and think about the people that are actually going to use it and how I can connect with them and how I can get it out there at whatever scale, even no matter how small it is. So we got out to music festivals, started meeting people and demoing and talking to like-minded people that would be interested in this way of thinking. We designed machinery, roped in our friends and family and stuff, designed packaging, and we basically put it online and had our own web shop. And the day that we launched, we had tried to get it out to journalists. Very few of them were interested at all. But luckily, we got one really great journalist who gave it a 10 out of 10 review on a very influential technology blog. And it flew around the internet. This is end of 2009. That's me on the floor in shock, because after 5 years of developing this with nobody knowing what we were doing, we sold out the first 1,000 packs that we'd made in 6 hours. So it was like a Kickstarter moment before Kickstarter existed. And it was amazing, because that was the day that I realized that there was a community out there that was interested in doing what I was dreaming about. And a few days after we shipped our first product, pictures started popping up on our Twitter feed. And people started telling us about what they were doing with their Sugru. And it's amazing. And it's just kept going ever since. And it's so inspiring, and I've learned so much from these people. I've just picked out five lessons that I've learned from these people. And the first is that disposability is a choice, and repair is a mindset. You know, something can be expensive or it can be cheap, but even cheap things can last a really long time if we decide that we want to keep them. The stuff that we have can come to mean more to us. This is a story from a girl in California who had this tripod that her grandfather had used in the 30s. She was able to repair the feet that had perished, and she uses it now in her photography. And this is an example of just like, you know, how she's the third generation in her family to use this thing. So it's different to use a tripod that your granddad used than a tripod you just picked up in the store. Fixing isn't just about broken stuff, it's actually about solving problems. This is a story from a dad in Ontario. Stella has a condition that makes her very weak, and she uses a very high-tech wheelchair, and she needs to use an elevator to get in and out of her house. And basically the button to use the elevator, she's not strong enough to push the button. So her dad has reshaped the shape of it to be like a scissor so that she can pull the button instead of push it. So she can get in and out of her house now by herself. You know, so I'm telling you this story because a small fix can make a huge difference into somebody's life. And it also is something that is about an approach to learning and living your life learning. This is an example from a guy called Joel who runs the operations at NASA. And he uses Sugru with his team to encourage them to be more resourceful and inventive in their everyday life. And I visited them just the other day because I'm never in Texas, and I got to go and see these guys. And it's amazing, you know. It's about being resourceful, it's about being inventive, it's about nurturing curiosity. And this is a story I really love this one, from a retired engineer whose chicken was attacked by a fox and lost a leg. It didn't put him off. He made her a new one, several materials, including Sugru. And I love this story, not only because the chicken now has, you know, a life worth living, but because the spirit of fixing is a happy one. It's an optimistic one. And that's really fundamental to why I think it can be so powerful. So the thing that ties all these stories together that I've learned over and over and over again is that fixing, the biggest transformation that happens isn't to the thing that's being fixed, but to the person doing the fixing. So if fixing is so important and it has so much potential and it's so fun, why are we not all doing it? Okay. Well, we used to. In developing economies, I'm sure all of you that have traveled have been so energized by the inventive spirit that you come across when you're in developing economies. And we all used to be like this. When we're resource constrained, our inventive brain switches on and we solve problems because we have to. We used to be like this too. So I've thought about 6 reasons why you might not be fixing yet, and 6 really inspiring examples that are really changing that reality. So the first problem is that stuff is just too cheap. It's really cheap to replace stuff. You know, you go around shops and stores now, you can find a kettle for $10, you can find a pair of shoes for $5. When stuff is that cheap, what's the true cost? What are we not paying for? There are more than 1 billion cell phones going to be sold this year, and the carbon footprint is equal to the size of a small country for just those cell phones, but we're not paying for it. And there's a charity called Restart Project based in the UK that's campaigning for systemic change. And I love this quote that they have, because everyone asks, like, when they're making choices, what to buy. What's the most environmentally friendly, this or that? What's the most environmentally friendly smartphone? It's the one you have. Keep it. Make it last longer. If we all kept our smartphones 1/3 longer, it would save something like the carbon footprint of Singapore or something like that. So these guys at Restart Project are really trying to change the system. And this is the biggest and most difficult piece when it comes to how repair will eventually make the impact. This is the longest term thing, because the stuff we're not paying for, we need to find ways to pay for it. So some changes that are happening. So in Sweden, in 2016, they introduced tax breaks for repair. So this is a start where we start seeing governments starting to try to build in the cost somehow for paying for this waste. in Europe, we regularly pay for the plastic bags when we're shopping, and they're starting to charge for coffee cups now as well, to be able to build up that money to be able to pay for the waste. So this is it's a really big thing, but in the end, repair needs to make financial sense for it to become something that everyone is going to do. Second reason that people aren't repairing things, well, companies don't want you to. They're actively designing stuff so that it can't be repaired, so that you can't do it. And there's a really interesting example which comes from the agriculture industry, because it's not just the gadget companies that are designing screws that don't fit the screwdrivers that you have, so you can't open them up, or kitchen appliance companies that are using glue instead of screws so that you can't open them up and you can't repair them. Those companies are operating on the premise that if you can't repair something, you're going to repurchase another one sooner. And in the agriculture industry, this got compounded by basically the digitization of our products. With more and more electronics and smart features and the way stuff is built now with technology inside, like a computer, it powers the seat of a tractor, it powers the engine of a tractor. This is running on software. And basically the manufacturers of tractors crossed a threshold a few years ago where even though you buy a tractor, you only get a license for the software that runs it. And so in this most fundamental, tractors have always been, they had to be repaired because if you know on a farm, you're depending on the weather. So you have a certain window of time to get a job done. So self-repair, being able to repair something on the spot is critical to being able to do your job because you need to repair it and get on with it before the storm comes or whatever. And now with this basically locking farmers out of being able to repair the software element of their machinery, they would have to go to a dealership, which could be like 100 miles away, and the spare parts, which traditionally you could just get a spare part from any tractor, other different generations, plug them in or whatever. Only certain types of spare parts will be compatible with the software. So what they created was basically a monopoly on repair that was locking the farmers out. And the farmers got together in Nebraska a few years ago and decided to fight for their right to repair things. And it's been amazing because they got together and they got a senator who took on their cause and is fighting for what became the Fair Repair Act, which is incredible because this is about campaigning for their right to be able to fix their stuff. And it was concentrating on tractors, but because of the implications of that legislation that they were campaigning for, if the farmers would win the right to repair, that would also impact smartphones, computers, everything else as well. So the gadget companies, the tech companies, flew into this little town, into the hearing, and lobbied against it. Apple and Microsoft, they were there at the hearing with the farmers, lobbying against their cause. Now, it has gained traction, and there's 15 states now have taken on this, and it's really getting traction, which is fantastic. But there's a very, very strong lobbying group that is campaigning against it. So it's really one to watch and a cause to support. Okay, so the third reason is pretty basic. We love new stuff. We just like buying new stuff, and there's lots of cool stuff coming out all the time. Shoes are a primary example. We're all guilty of it. They're just so easy to buy and easy to love. 20 billion pairs of shoes are made every year, and these are made from materials that last a very long time. There's a store in London which is my new favorite store. It's a shoe store with a difference, where you can bring your old shoes and have them not only repaired, but customized and rejuvenated and turned into a whole new pair of shoes, if you like. I've done it to these ones that I'm wearing. And what I really love about this is that they've embraced what we love about shopping and applied it to fixing. So you bring in your shoes and you choose what color do you want, what sort of softness, squishiness do you want? Do you want grip? Do you want hard? What do you want? And that's a really fun experience. I've done 3 pairs of boots now, and with varying levels of adventure and adventurous taste or not. And what's so cool about this is they're not just trying to make your shoes back to how they were when you bought them. They've already become your favorite pair of shoes. So you love them, but you get the bonus of that sort of newness as well. And you don't have the anxiety of when you buy a new pair of shoes and you're like, oh, but will they hurt? Or will they actually go with the outfits? Will I actually wear them? Is it a waste of money? None of that. You know they're your favorite shoes already, and they're just even better. So I can highly recommend, try and check this out. I think there's a few stores popping up in different cities now. The 4th problem is that it's in our minds. We have a throwaway mindset. 12 billion tons of clothing is thrown away every year in the US. And the clothing industry is the 2nd largest polluter, second only to oil. It's not because the clothes are disintegrating, it's because we're not continuing to wear them, we're not continuing to take care of them. And we've got to change our minds. If you think about other stuff, you think about jewelry or you think about furniture, there are things in our lives that we enjoy aging with. We buy them and we intend to live with them for our lives. And if they get a stain or they get a bit scuffed, we kind of, it has a bit of a memory of that time, that party where we spilled the wine or whatever. But we don't think about that with our clothes or with various other things in our lives. So we've got to change how we're thinking. Patagonia, and I've seen they're doing amazing stuff around on the program, so I hope you're excited to go and check what they're doing out. But they are doing awesome stuff in this regard, and their worn wear business is basically celebrating the stuff that we already have and the stories that are in our garments, and helping us to appreciate that. It's not about the latest technology. Sometimes it's about the jacket that we love that's been on the adventure with us. Old stuff can be better than new. They're promoting repair by traveling the country and getting people aware of repair. And they've built in lifetime guarantees for repair for all their garments so that you can send it off and get a new zip or whatever it is that's broken. But the coolest part is they've thought about it as a whole system. And inevitably, some jackets, some stuff, you're going to not need them anymore because of whatever reason, or you've grown out of it, or whatever it is. So they have what they call re-commerce. And it's a system and a community on their website where you can sell the used garments that you have. And people prefer, many young people prefer to buy the used ones than the new ones. Not only because they're cheaper, but they're cooler, because not everyone has them. So that stuff is really awesome. And, they think about their goal in doing this, not only within their business, but to inspire other apparel companies to do the same thing and to think in this systemic way. The 5th reason you might not be repairing is you might not think that you can, that you don't have the skills, you don't have the knowledge. Well, the good news is that it's really easy, much easier than you think to learn. iFixit is an amazing resource. There's more than 35,000 repair manuals on there of 10,000 different devices and appliances and so on. And they're really good quality. You can follow step by step, and they have the guidance for what spare parts you might need and where you can get them, and those are all quality checked and so on. So you can learn online, teach yourself. That's amazing. You can also go to a repair cafe. So I don't know if you heard of these, but they're grassroots voluntary community events where people that have the skills, because in every community there's people there who are tinkerers, who are retired engineers, who are teachers, who used to work in electronics, whatever it is. There are people with the skills and they want to share them. And so a repair cafe is where that happens. You can bring along your broken stuff and you can not only have it fixed like you would in a repair shop, but you can learn how to do it at the same time. So it was started by one woman in the Netherlands a few years ago, and there's now more than 1,500 of them all over the world. And Repair Cafe is only one organization that is doing this. There are several more local organizations as well that are doing very similar things. And the spirit of these groups is amazing, because it really is one of learning, and it's one of not only fixing the thing or doing the job, but it's actually one where it's building community and it's making friends at the same time, which is obviously a secondary benefit, but that speaks to that sort of optimistic spirit of repair, where it's about generosity. Okay, and the last reason, which is a little bit sad, is that we've lost our confidence around fixing things and making things. But there's amazing stuff happening in this space as well. So if you think about it, when you're a kid, you have all the confidence in the world. You watch a kid, they think, even if they can or not, they think they can sing, they think they can dance, they think they can draw, well, they think they can fix. And what if we can help them hold on to that? What if the next generation, we can help them hold on to that confidence by nurturing those skills and nurturing that enthusiasm? I'm just going to play, I have 2 videos here of 2 different organizations that are doing incredible things. So the first one is a joint project between iFixit and Restart Project that set up a peer-to-peer repair shop within a school. So I want you to listen to these kids and how they talk about repair.
I broke my phone and I was dreading having to tell my parents. And I had heard from some people that we had a restart center, and I wasn't really sure, because I was like, I also don't know how much I trust other people to fix my phone. I might as well just send it back to Apple. And then right before I knew I was gonna have to tell my parents, we made an appointment and we fixed it, and it was the best experience I've had so far.
The second video that I wanted to show you is a little organization called Fixperts. And this is really where you're starting to see that fixing isn't just about broken stuff. Okay, it's not about broken stuff, it's about problem solving, whether that is solving a problem for yourself or solving a problem for somebody around you. This is Fixperts.
Hello from all our Fixperts, an ever-growing worldwide network of clever, generous people who use their imagination and skills to solve immediate, everyday problems for others. Fixperts work with schools, universities and companies to encourage people to be resourceful. We do this all over the world, in over 19 countries, with over 1,000 Fixperts.
So I guess the question then is yeah, it definitely is fun and it brings out people's creativity, but can it make big environmental change? It does really feel like this problem is coming to a head, and we're all agreeing about that. But I guess the thing that it can feel like doomsday, but I guess the thing to remember that I try to go back to is that, for all the difficulties that globalization is causing, it has also enabled us to make huge progress. And on all of these markers, just in the last 20 years, from poverty, hunger, even pollution, we are making amazing progress. And that is down to the connectivity, the technology, the times that we're living in. And really, the power of people with ideas connecting is better than it ever has been before. We have a better chance to solve this than we ever have before. But it really is, repair, it is just part of the solution. It's one really small part. And I really believe that the way to get there isn't about making people feel guilty. It's not about finger wagging. It's not about only the regulation. We need to make systemic change, but in the meantime, we need to inspire people to behave in better ways. And to me, that is about the sort of positive energy and the inspiration that comes with fixing things. So you've seen this grassroots movement. There is amazing stuff happening. And I think the thread that comes through there is the optimism and the creativity that comes through all of these people and all of these projects. For me and the work that we do at Sugru, we see ourselves at the very start of somebody's journey with fixing. You know, it takes quite a while to have the confidence to open up the back of your computer. But we see ourselves at the start to inspire somebody to have a go at fixing that little thing in their life, to go from, I'm not a fixer, to maybe I could. And this is a story that we just got a few weeks ago from a mum called Meg, who said because she'd been using Sugru, when her child's alarm clock broke, she decided, okay, I'm going to take the back off this thing and have a look what's going wrong. It was just a loose wire. She didn't need any Sugru to fix it. But to me, there's something amazing in that story where she went from, you know, not thinking about somebody like, I'm not a fixer, to somebody that has the motivation and the confidence to take the back off and just have a look. And that's the first step. That's what it takes. So yeah, you look through this, you see it is about a spirit of having a go. It's about little small things that we can all do. And when we think about what impact that can really have on the environment, I think it might be in unexpected ways. So sure, like we're going to save each individual thing that we fix, we're going to make it last longer, and we're going to save those things from landfill. But when you see the problem solving that is going on in these people's minds, and especially if we can nurture that in people young, then I think that in creating the next generation of creative, optimistic problem solvers, these will be the people that make the systemic change. These will be the people that go on to do the geoengineering, whatever it is that needs to be done to make the legislation, to make the new systems that we will need to really tackle the big problem. So what can you do? Well, just think about it. Just in the next month, just think about the problems that you can solve and just have a go. Have a go at doing something and surprise yourself. It's a really, really good feeling. I just want to finish on a little animation that we made to celebrate the spirit of the creativity of this community.
Oh,